All right, well, it's 3 o'clock. Shirley, I'm going to pass the baton to you to kick off part 1 of the Creating Balance and Integration in Our Personal and Professional Lives. Part 2, we just decided is going to be next month, June 12th at 3 p.m. I'm setting up the call right now, so I will drop that link in the chat. So to sign up for part 2 of this. And Shirley?
Okay, thank you, Amy. Hello, everybody. I hope you had an opportunity to enjoy Mother's Day for whatever role that might be, even appreciating our mothers with us or in spirit. There's something very special about honoring time. And today we're going to talk about creating balance and integration. And as I was putting this together, realized there was really too much content that I wanted to share with you to do in one session. So we're going to do this in 2 sessions. For those of you who don't know me, I think I'm looking at names. I've seen many of you on here before, but I do some coaching. I do a lot of corporate training around mental health because I ran a mental health organization after I left the mortgage banking industry. And now I'm in this semi-retired state where I do some coaching and spend some time with you all, and I enjoy it. So thank you for that. And let's kind of dig into this. One of the things that is really interesting to me, because I did a lot of work on work-life balance probably about 15 years ago and worked with the Department of Labor on it. And we were really, trying to see how organizations could help women in particular who are usually, charged with family care more often than the men. And you've seen very little in that change, but what's been interesting for me is just watching the articles that are, on social media and out there about work-life balance. And now they're actually calling it work-life integration, because after COVID, we're not trying to balance our life anymore, we're trying to integrate it. And I was reading a lot of the articles in preparation for this, and I'm just thinking they've got it all wrong. They're really looking at how you balance your time, and maybe, an employer can let you take your dog to work so you can walk your dog on your lunch hour and things like that. And while there's some legitimate reasons to have those conversations, when we're talking about the things we've been talking about in all of these sessions, it's really about mental wellness and whole health wellness, and not so much time management. So I kind of put the big cross through that and said, let's really talk about balance and integration in a way that's very personal and also very helpful in how you lead your life and how your health benefits from that. And so as we look at sort of redefining it, not the way you might see it if you do a couple searches on the internet, but really talking about you being balanced, not so much I'm here at work, I've got my kids, I've got my parents, I've got all these things I'm taking care of. How do I balance that? But going deeper and to say, how do I balance me so that I can show up in a way that I can make the choices that help me balance my time and help me prioritize what has to happen? Because nothing is ever simple or easy in life, but the more we are internally present and healthy, the better that we can deal with it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And then next month in June, we will actually do the integration part, where we're going to talk about how do we bring what's our inner climate out to the outer world. And that might get a little bit into managing time and priorities, but a little bit different than taking your dog to work so that you can walk it at the lunch hour. So today we're going to talk about just creating and maintaining, the balance. And it's just kind of looking at the things that we'll talk about today is what you're aware of and what you want to attend to. So just kind of your inner homeostasis, what balances you, what takes you from cold to hot physically, but also what takes your blood pressure to where it needs to be when you're under stress, and all of that aspect of our physical health affecting our mental health. How your stressors and demands affect you and how you notice that, we've talked about the window of tolerance before. You will see I will often stick it into presentations again, because it is so worth us mentioning because of the language of it, how your energy shifts. We're gonna go a little bit on burnout. I know we may have touched on that in December, but I think it's very important, especially as you were saying earlier about buybacks and other things that are going on. It's just so easy to carry all of that stress with us, and it's important that we recognize when it may have gone a little bit too far. And then supporting balances. What are the tools for restoring? Supporting practices. What are the tools for restoring the balance that you might have, that you might need? So let's get started with just taking a pause right now. And I just would like you all just to kind of take a big breath and just kind of check in on yourself and just say, how are you, and how are you really? What is your inner climate? If you close your eyes for a second, or if that's not comfortable, just kind of softly gaze down and just take a few deep breaths and pay attention to where are you in this moment. What's going on? What are your thoughts? The inner critic going on? Is it stress over something? Maybe even joy. What is your energy like right now? What might you be holding on to? What thoughts continually go through that loop in your head? What's frustrating? And just take a moment and just assess what is going on in me. And think about the physical aspects as well. What hurts? Where am I tight? What muscles seem to be tight in the morning when I wake up? What am I clenching, or what am I doing? So just take a couple moments and breathe. And if you can right now, just find your calm. It's just find your calm. Let things go and breathe. Breathe into whatever thoughts you have. Just let them be. Just find that moment of calm. And the reason I start with that is because it's so important that we check in on ourselves. And I'm starting off today with some homework for you. And it's not difficult homework, but I will ask, especially before we come to the session next month, check in on yourself. What are the questions? And we'll talk about this through, so take notes if you have an opportunity. What are the questions that compel you to be aware in the present? And what are the questions you want to ask yourself that will matter to your overall health? Like, where's my energy level? Or am I working and living in alignment with what I value? What are my stress points? How do I show up when I'm stressed? Am I the same? Am I different? Are people understanding me? Do I communicate different? What am I holding on to? When do I notice discomfort? Whatever question comes up for you, that's your homework. Find those questions. And it could be different for every one of us. We all have different personalities. We have different roles. We have different ways that we take in the world. So while I will give thoughts and suggestions, find what works for you. And we'll talk about this a little bit again. But as we go through this, if a question comes up, you're like, I've never taken the time to ask myself this. Write it down. Because if we don't know what is happening within us, if we don't know what stresses us, or if we don't know when we're feeling things or feeling joy, we don't have the opportunity to get ourselves to a better spot. So it all starts with that awareness, but the questions help us go a little bit deeper. And so as we look at the balance within, we kind of talk about, I'd like to talk about homeostasis. It's that condition of optimal functioning for our body and our body's tendency toward equilibrium. You know, like if you jump in a cold lake, right, your body totally goes into shock, but not necessarily for very long as your body starts bringing it back, right? So as we think about things that happen to us, our body has the ability to bring us back to homeostasis. But stress is one of those key factors in the disruption of that calm, of that equilibrium. And so what's really important for us to recognize is that when stress becomes chronic and homeostasis is disrupted for too long, overtaxing the body's mechanisms, that's when our health suffers. So it's an important thing for us to think about like as we go through this, what brings us back to balance, to equilibrium, right? So if we want to kind of take a tool from this, I would just say, you know, just consider things, check in on yourself. How often do you pay attention to your inner climate? And what practices do you want or need to help reduce stress and bring you back to homeostasis? So I'm putting these, usually at the end, we kind of do a little review, but I'm putting these through because I'd like you, as we walk through this, to grab what feels right for you. Grab it as we go through so that even though Amy's always great about summarizing it, all of these points won't hit you. Some of you are in very different places than the others. So let's look at different approaches of our mind. You know, we've talked about the mind a lot and how that can influence our energy level, how it can influence how we think, you know, whether or not we're under stress and whether we're in our prefrontal cortex or in our amygdala. But there's really two ways of looking at the way that the mind is structured or approaches in like stress containing or event containing situations. And the first is kind of this problem reacting. And if you look at this drawing, you see that, you know, here's a problem or a threat. Our initial response, again, that amygdala, remember that little almond-shaped part of our brain that is the fight, flight, or freeze. So fear, and then our reaction to that. And then we think about it and we go back to the problem and we keep kind of in this loop. And if you look at the little graph at the bottom here, you kind of see our results, like we're up and down over time, but we don't ever seem to get anywhere. If we are in this approach of our mind or this structure, we're reacting and we're containing all of our anxiety, right? You can just see it, it's in this endless loop and we're containing it. And another way to look at it is to say, this problem, it has me, or it's managing me and my thoughts, and therefore my stress and my energy level, right? So what we want to look at is the other structure of the mind, which is more the outcome creating, it's energy unleashing. And instead of saying it has me, it might be I have it, I'm managing it. And this is really the way that we grow. We grow as leaders, we grow in our adult development, we learn, it's our creative time. And you can make big shifts when you're choosing like this creative path instead of a reactive path. And so in this way, when the problem or threat comes in, you start looking at a bigger picture, right? What's the purpose of what I'm doing right now, and how is this problem going into it? Why do I care about it? What action do I need to take? And it's a whole different set of questions. I like to think of it as in the problem reacting, we're on a crowded dance floor, right? And everyone is jostling us around and we're getting our feet stepped on and you know, it's uncomfortable. But in the outcome creating structure of the mind, what's really happening is we're now on the balcony looking down on the dance floor, right? We're seeing everything jostled around, but we're not in it. We're allowing our thinking and our mind to be above it so that we can use our critical thinking skill sets and not our reactive part of our brain. You know, we talked a little bit about kind of in other sessions about the line of choice. And that's another way to look at this too, is that when we notice that we are in the problem, kind of reacting, fearful side of us, when we notice it, that's when we can make the choice to move to the other. So it's kind of like, what structure of mind are you in? You know, are you in the fear? Are you in the passion, creative, you know, our judgment or curiosity? You know, are we being reactive, or are you looking for ways to solve something? So again, something to notice whenever you're feeling a little bit of stress is, how is my mind functioning right now? And what can I do to make it function a little bit differently, to function more creatively, to get to results? So, you know, as we think about balance, you know, I always love this little picture, because it seems sometimes that that's what we do. We have so many things going on at once, and we're standing there trying not to fall over. And when that happens, we have all these events that are going on through the day. And, you know, it could be something small, it could be, you know, something big. And whatever is happening, we have to react to it and hopefully respond to it in a way that we choose, or we hope to, as things are happening. And so we've talked about the window of tolerance, but that's why I do like to talk about it, because it brings language to something that happens to us every single day. And, you know, we can look at it from, the psychologists who developed this and use in mental health, but really it's just good language for everyday living. We don't need to worry about high arousal, low arousal, you know, whether we're overstimulated, as much as just looking at the fact that we all have this window of tolerance, you know, every day. It's like, think about, you know, you're driving to work one day, if some of you are still going to work, and a car pulls out in front of you, and one day you're like, I can't believe they did that, you know, why do they think they own the road, you know, and you have this reaction. And another day a car pulls out in front of you and you're like, wow, okay, they must be in a hurry. Same thing happened, you're the same person, two very different responses. And that's really based on where you are at the time, and whether your window of tolerance is open or closed. So as we look back, you know, at all the things that happen to us during a day, if our window gets very skinny, those things lie on the outside of these two lines, which means that our ability to handle them, manage them, cope with them is greatly diminished. So keeping your window open is, you know, and having practices that allow you to keep it open. Or if it's not open, recognizing it, you know, like someday you just wake up and you know you didn't get enough sleep, you're a little stressed, you know that about yourself. It's not a great time to go have a tough conversation with a client, or with a vendor, or with an employee or a colleague, right? It's not your best time. And so just recognizing, like, I'm at my best today, my window is good, or I'm not at my best today. How do I either open it so that I can deal with what is coming on, or how do I adjust my day? And those are great things to take in, because how you manage stress every day can vary based on how your window is. How you show up to your colleagues, to your clients, varies based on how your window is. And so noticing it and putting language to it. And it's even great to do with your kids, to be honest with you. I mean, I've had times after I learned this, and they were younger, if I would kind of snap back at them when they were getting too loud or doing something, I would go, sorry, my window of tolerance isn't very open today or right now, you know. And you put language to it, and it allows you to move forward without being stuck in that spot of, oh, why did I do that? What's wrong? No, it's like, no, I know what the situation is. I know what I need to do to open it. I don't necessarily have time right now, so I'm going to adjust. And so I hope that you kind of take this into your normal life and think about that as you wake up, or as you go through things. I know I'm grouchy in the morning, and so it's one of the things that I do now is like, okay, I do some breathing before I even leave my bedroom now, so that when I say good morning, I say it in a positive way. Just little simple things like that sometimes can make your day much better. We've talked about energy management before too, and again, it's just so critical. I look at the Eiffel Tower here on four legs, and how it's been standing there, I think, for like 100 and almost 50 years, just balanced, right? And it's in this perfect way. How we balance is really dependent on each of our four domains, mind, body, heart, and spirit. Recognizing that if you're tired or if you feel depleted, recognizing that it's not, I surely am tired or depleted. It's, I'm going to think about, where am I tired? My sleep was good. I drank a lot of water. So yeah, my body's probably pretty good right now. I'm not feeling anything. So is it my mind? And just kind of walking through the four domains to kind of take a mental a touch. And sometimes it's your heart. Sometimes you had a tough conversation with somebody that left you feeling a little bit funny inside. It depletes your energy. And if you don't recognize it, you might think that you're not able to do something else. But if you recognize where it's coming from, you can look at, how do I counteract that? So if your energy tanks, as I look at, if your energy tanks are getting depleted in any one of these, what are the ways that you want to fill them? And so again, just a kind of tool or tip is, what's depleting your energy, and look at all four. And you might not even know right away, but pay attention, because if you know, it's because, you know what, I haven't had any water today, or I haven't gotten up from my desk in like 3 hours, and I haven't taken even so much as a break, and so my mind is probably getting fried. So whatever it is, begin to notice it. And then as you look at the energy levels, how do they affect your window of tolerance? And just kind of start to notice that too. And then your ability to either stay above the line, if we look at that line of choice, or stay in the creative mind structure, just kind of like, what is that better part of me? Because if I recognize how my energy levels affect my window of tolerance, then I can affect how I respond, not react to things. Okay. So and I put a lot of this on slides because I know some of you will ask for them. But again, the homework was what I already put out. This is continually just kind of, food for thought as you go forward. But take from this whatever is most helpful for you. And this, I just say, let's just take a breath right now. I've been burned out before, just from exhaustion and stress, and not really even recognizing what it was. And the thing is about burnout is that you need to recover from it. It is a little deeper. It's sometimes a lot deeper than just being stressed in the moment. And so one of the things that you really want to look at, burnout, emotional exhaustion, just a decreased sense of accomplishment, depersonalization, where you don't seem to care about things or people nearly as much as you used to. And so very good. So just, there are some signs to look for. And if you have any of these that we're going to walk through, just take a look. And if you have multiple, then I would say, there's a self-test I'm going to give you the link for. I would say go there and find out whether or not you need to reach out for help. And if you do, I'm happy to have a call with anybody and help you connect to resources you might need, or maybe you can take care of it yourself once you kind of notice it. But, just that negative attitude or being critical more than before, dreading going into work, low energy, sleeping troubles, being absent from work a lot, just, trying not to go in or show up when you can, feeling empty, kind of getting toward even a little bit of depression, possibly, physical issues, being irritated easily, having thoughts, that your work doesn't, it doesn't matter. Just kind of those thoughts where things just don't matter. Pulling away emotionally from your clients or your colleagues, blaming others for your mistakes. And again, having one or two of these doesn't mean necessarily that you're burned out, but I do encourage you, if you feel like you might be at that point, this Mind Tools website, and again, you can get these slides, so don't worry about necessarily writing it all down, but there's just a short assessment there. And if you're like, wow, I really am burned out, then it's time for you to look for deeper resources. And like I said, please, I always give you my phone number and my email at the end. I truly mean it when I say you are welcome to reach out, and I will absolutely work to help you if you're in this situation. So let's look at, just really what does help us when we are stressed to avoid burnout. And one of the big things is really completing the stress cycle. You think about the old days, our stress was, lions or tigers or bears chasing us, right? That's kind of the example we give, and how our brain really got into that fight, flight, or freeze mentality, through our biology and through genetics over time. Things have changed a little bit, but there's still that need for us to get back to homeostasis. And so when stress comes in, if we don't release it, it can store, which makes it difficult for our bodies to get back, right? So finding ways to release stress, and it's different for everyone. So look at it. Sometimes it could be calling somebody and just going, you can't believe this phone call I just had, or you can't believe, we have to repurchase these loans, or you can't, whatever it is, just get it out and having the conversation. So just completing that. But physical activity, whether you go to the gym or you run or you just go for a walk or you have a punching bag or whatever, breathing, positive social interaction, sometimes, hugging and laughter. There's sometimes stress, you just need to be with somebody, and just when you talk about it, just get it out of your system and don't hold on to it. Affections, I'm crying. I had a chiropractor tell me once, I was carrying so much stress on my shoulder. He said, there's nothing I can do for you. He said, get in the car, go out in the countryside and just scream, and I kind of was laughing at that. He said, I'm serious. He said, just get it out. And so find your way. It could be art, could be anything. Just look at a way that helps you complete the stress cycle. Stress came in, stress needs to come out. Okay, so that you don't get to burnout. And if you're already burned out, it still can work, just depending on the severity. Right? So, as we kind of look at everything that we've talked about, just know, balance is fluid. Sometimes we're in better places than others. It's sort of minute to minute, day to day. So don't ever be hard on yourself, but just be intentional about, what's going to go on for the day. How can you balance yourself, whatever, and don't think long-term. Your brain loves short-term goals. So what's my priority for today? How do I take care of me and take care of everything on my plate for today? Spend the time to become aware of your signs, what shows up for you. If your neck is always tight, there's something you're holding on to, right? When I was working, especially when I was running the Women's Center, my neck was so tight all the time that I was constantly at a chiropractor. And now I don't ever seem to have that same issue, because I, first of all, recognize it and I do things about it. And I'm also in a different role. So when you're in a role that's stressful, it's going to show up. You just need to be aware of it. Put some time in your day or your week for some deep breathing, and also for asking yourself those questions, right? And then choose practices that work for you and your overall well-being. And we've got one of the reasons I wanted a little bit of time today extra is because I talk about practices, but I'd like to actually throw a lot out there for you and kind of walk through a couple. And if some of them resonate with you, find a way to incorporate them into your own. So here are some of the practices that you can take home with you. Physical care, oscillation, we talked about, the rubber band. If you hold a rubber band out on your fingers, it will eventually ravel. But if you continue to release it and then go back out, it won't ravel. And think about yourself that same way. So pauses are important. So let's go through each one of these. So physical care, that's fairly easy, right? The things: drink your water, eat healthy, get some sleep, do some exercise, stretch, all of the things. And if you don't have a lot of time, do it while you're working. You can, stretch your ankles, do different things, find ways to incorporate some good physical care. The pause practice, there's two different ways I like to look at the pause practice. One is pause before you respond to something, before you react. So whenever you feel yourself getting a little stressful, take a pause and say, okay, what do I want to do with this? How do I want to be with this? The other is to just get up from your work, get away from your computer for 90 seconds, do 5 jumping jacks, walk around the house, the block, whatever it is, just take a break. Even if it's a mental break, listening to some music, just take a pause at least every 90 minutes. Don't sit at your desk for more than 90 minutes without a pause. This is one of the biggest ones. I know everybody talks about breathing. We've talked about it, but calming your parasympathetic nervous system is critically important. There are some apps out there, which I've put on there, but deep breathing. And so I'd like you right now, if you would, just kind of put both feet on the floor, one hand on your chest, one hand on your stomach, and just notice right now when you're breathing, taking a deep breath, which hand is moving? Are they both moving? It's just the one on your chest moving. Just kind of notice it. And now taking a deep breath, but make sure your stomach is pushing out as you take your breath. Feel the difference. And as you breathe out, pull your stomach in, pull your core right back in, right into your back almost. But when you breathe in and out, fill your whole self, not just the shallow breathing, which is all up here. Get it all the way down. That will calm your nervous system. And it can slow your heart rate. It can it can just reset your body right back to calm. Okay. So just notice your hands, breathe into your stomach, right? And just take your time with it. And that can be one of your pause practices as well. So mindfulness, people don't always know what that is, but for you, I'll just say, be present, be aware. Like right now, my pause practice is I am mindful of the ticking of this little clock I have in front of my desk. I am mindful of the breeze coming in from the vent in my room. I'm mindful of how my foot feels on the floor and how my other foot is crossed around my ankle. I'm mindful of my heart rate. So mindfulness is just being so present, and try to be mindful in, again, mind, body, heart, and spirit. I'm mindful of my emotion passively, right? So just think about that again. 1 minute of that, 2 minutes at the most sometimes is enough. Meditation, this is, Amy mentioned if you wanted to do some meditation, there's some good good people who really focus on meditation a lot. How you meditate, what that looks like for you. It's a great thing to do to strengthen your inner muscles, your inner side. Meditation is like a muscle memory thing. The more you meditate and the more you bring yourself to calm, the more quickly you can get back to calm after one of those situations, one of those spikes, right? And they've done studies on this with Buddhist monks who meditate all the time and someone who's learned to meditate. They will both have a reaction and they'll both become calm right after because they're meditating. But what they've noticed in the studies as they've done, brain, when they plug everyone in, is that 10 minutes later, the Buddhist monks were still calm, right? Because that muscle held for them. So again, if it's the right thing for you, find a way to incorporate it. Somatic practices, having space, putting your arms out, taking space. And there's an acronym HEAL, which is kind of a nice thing too. And we have a moment, so I'll do it. So right now, think of a positive experience you've had. And usually you would do this while you're having the positive experience, but for right now, just think of a positive experience. It could be, I was on a Ferris wheel when I was 6 and I loved it. It could be, I had a great conversation yesterday. It could be anything, right? Just think of a positive experience. So now take that experience and enrich it with all your senses. So when I was there, what was the smell? Was there a candle burning? Or was I outdoors and it was the sound of the smell of the sea? So, what did it look like? What was I hearing? Was there a breeze? What did I feel? So just enrich it with all of your senses when you're having a positive experience. Don't just go, oh, it's a beautiful day. Stop and say, it's a beautiful day. I'm hearing birds. I'm feeling the grass in between my toes. I'm smelling the honeysuckles. Okay. So then as you enrich it, then absorb it. Just allow it to linger, right? And again, you can do this with an experience in like 1 minute. And then the L in HEAL is link it. Link it to something else. So when I'm at the office or at my work desk, if I work from home, whatever it is, and I have to dial in for a meeting, I'm going to link this experience to that moment. So I always go there for 5 seconds, right? So it's a longer term practice, but it's one that if you use, and it might be you link it to when you have to do public speaking or having a tough conversation or anything else. Like just it's a great way to give your worry mind or your stress mind a break and take it to a place that all of your senses have enjoyed, right? So you're using all of your inner self to get there. Visualization, where you're just, you have a thought of a mountain creek or whatever it is that works for you. I say visualization is always a good one to kind of take in. And then your spiritual practices, whatever those might be, what fills that tank for you. People have many different ways that they fill their spirits. So, find what works for you. And then, of course, gratitude. Gratitude is always a practice that will take you out of your lower self and bring you into the higher self. It will get you out of the stuck cycle of worry and fear and help you think about things differently because you'll put language to gratitude. Like, instead of being afraid of this, I'm grateful that I have an opportunity to learn how to solve another problem, and I'm making a little bit of a joke there, but it is amazing how it will free up your mind to get out of a stuck cycle that takes you down. So back to your homework, so again, check, the homework really is check in on yourself. What are the questions that will compel you to be aware in the present? And what questions matter to you and your overall health? So just think about that. You don't have to do that in one day or one sitting, but as you hear somebody ask a question or someone being interviewed or whatever, just go, wow, I've never asked myself that question. That's a good one for me. So look at that and then discover one practice, you can have more, that helps to calm you and keep you where you want to be above the line, or it fills one or more of your energy tanks. Just look at one practice that will help you get back to a calm space. Okay, so we'll take your homework, and as we get into next month, some of these things, if you've been thinking about them, it will really help as we talk about integration of your better self into your life. So that wraps it up for me today. So as usual, I thank you for your time. I enjoy being with you very much. And again, my number, email, feel free, should you want additional resources or anything, to reach out. I will be very happy to respond. Just, if you text me, just, put that this was through TMC. So I know it's not I kind of put that in the heading. So I know it's not a spam text. I'm getting a lot of those, but, or email me, whatever is easier if you want more resources. Okay.
Thank you so much, Shirley. And you know what? I'll put that in my next follow-up email with the recording of this session, but I'll give your contact information in there as well if anybody does want to reach out, or if, Femi, I thank you for putting your putting your camera on, but if you run an organization like Femi does and you want to bring Shirley to your company to do something for your employees, it's always a great idea as well. Lots of tools in this session. I feel like for me personally, to remind myself to get out of that headspace, and I like the tying of good positive experiences to other experiences that you might have here for. So excellent stuff. Femi, did you want to say anything, or you just wanted to say hi?
I'm good. I just turn the camera off when the speaker's going, just so that I don't interrupt anything with my funny faces.
Yeah. I did drop the link for next month's session, which will be part 2 of this one. So be sure to click on there and get signed up so you can get the reminders June 12th at 3 p.m. And with that, look out for the follow-up email with the recording of this, both from YouTube as well as the podcast. So you can listen wherever you get your podcasts, or you can watch it on YouTube. So have a fabulous week, everyone. It was nice to see you, Shirley, Femi, as always, and we will see you, hear from you in a month.
Great.
Hi, guys. Thank you.